Hi guys, I know this is going to be a bit of a different video today and I am a bit nervous in making it. I was going to do something else, but I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while and I think it needs to be made. There are a few women out there that have gone through, or should I say there are a few people out there that have gone through the same experience as me. When I went through this experience and I reached out for help in forms of videos, knowledge, wanting to know what to expect, there wasn't as many videos out there as I have seen now, which is amazing because it just means that it's spreading awareness. Before I get into this video though, I would like to put a trigger warning, just because we are going to be discussing some very difficult topics. So if anything to do with pregnancy, miscarriage, surgery, blood loss, needles, anything like that, please just, if it's going to affect you negatively, maybe don't watch this video, because I don't want this to affect anyone negatively. This is a video that I have been wanting to make for a while though, as I said, and to be quite honest, I had almost like I was going to write a script, I was going to speak it properly, and I did film this video last year and I just never posted it because I didn't feel ready. I don't think anyone's ever ready to discuss their emotions and trauma. Sometimes it's never the right time, but if this helps anyone in any way, just to make them understand that one, they're not alone, and two, give them the information that maybe they're searching, that they are struggling to find elsewhere, then that would be at least a positive in my eyes. I started my YouTube channel in October 2021 and I was doing it as a form of escape, because in the August of 2021, at my 20-week scan, I found out that my baby had actually passed away, and it was something that was extremely unexpected. And Jay and I were expecting our first child together. Of course, you know that we have 2 children already. Jay, from a previous relationship, has a little boy, and I have a little boy from a previous relationship as well. So this was very much a wanted child for us to be able to have a baby together and go through that experience together. So we were over the moon really when we found out that we were expecting. And I had never, should I say, experienced pregnancy loss before. I'd had my son Gareth absolutely fine, and it was in the back of my mind throughout the whole pregnancy. I was very worried. I had an entirely different experience with that pregnancy than I did with Gareth, and I was doing a lot of research around a lot of things, but needless to say, nothing really ever prepares you for losing a child. I can sit here now and say that I'm probably not an expert in anything in terms of grief management. I'm very lucky that I had a mum who was a coroner's officer. She was a nurse. She's taught me very well how to handle grief and how to accept a lot of things, but nothing really ever prepares you for going through it when you are going through it. This video is really more not just about my missed miscarriage, but also about how we as humans have got a lot to learn in terms of how we share our emotions when it comes to grief and loss, and how we are able to move on without moving on, if that makes sense. Obviously time passes and goes forward, but it never really goes away. You know, I have experienced loss in my life before from 2 people who I was very close to. That was my granny, even though I hadn't seen her in many years, and my cousin Arlen, who, that was a very unexpected shock to the whole family. So when those 2 people in my life passed, it's all I can say, it's just a very different experience with each type of grief, and no 2 losses are the same. You know, my granny and my Arlen were 2 different people, but they were still very important to me and I still loved them dearly. And those two losses taught me a lot about myself as well, and how it can be very unexpected. I think I remember with my granny, I didn't cry when I found out that she'd passed, and then a few weeks later I just ended up bawling my eyes out in the shower because I just missed her. And I hadn't seen her in years, and I felt so guilty for not being able to see her. But it was just, it was just the way it kind of went. So grief can hit you very differently. That's all I'm saying. And sometimes in the least unexpected ways and in the most inconvenient times. But when Jay and I found out that we went in, basically what had happened was I was going to my 20-week scan. This is the gender scan as well. So we were going fully expecting to find out whether we were having a little girl or a little boy. And nothing really prepares you, like I said, for the news that there is no heartbeat, or the news that there is something wrong, in whatever form that may come. And I remember waiting, and I just had a feeling, and I had a feeling for a while that just something wasn't quite right. And I had expressed my concerns to my midwife, and this was when we knew that the baby was alive, because they suspect that the baby passed between like 15 to 17 weeks. I actually heard the baby's heart would beat at 17 weeks, but they think what might have happened was, even though, because we had, an at-home Doppler, and I know that sometimes people can get confused with the placenta, but we did have an at-home Doppler, and we did hear the baby's heartbeat, Jay and I, but we did notice that it was a lot slower than we thought it should be, but we put it down to it being like a cheap Doppler, and I'm, thinking back, I could be like kicking myself for it, for not flagging it, but at the same time, I don't genuinely think there was anything that could have been done. So anyway, the baby had passed, we think at about 17 weeks, but she had stopped growing because we did find out it was a little girl we were meant to have, which we only found out a year later, the results, and that we were having a little girl, because it was just, there was a lot of waiting involved. So we did find out we were having a little girl, and we called her Lily Rose. So yeah, we went to the gender scan. We found out, I remember the midwife just saying that she kind of checked the scan, and I just knew straight away there was just something not right. Like I said, I'd raised my concerns with the midwife. I had a constant headache throughout my pregnancy, but my blood test came back fine. I remember at 15 weeks posting on a chat some of my concerns, and someone, I think, came back to me not really knowing, I'm sure it's fine, love, nothing to worry about, as you do. And I just had this feeling, and I just remember walking into the scan room, and I lied down and I said to the midwife, I've been experiencing a little bit of pain in my uterus section. Is that normal? And she was so distracted, she kind of didn't listen to me, but she kind of went like, not really, but she was too busy focusing on the screen. And then I knew something was wrong straight away when she called her assistant over to also check the screen. And I know that it's a procedure that you normally get two people to check a scan if there is no heartbeat, to confirm. And that's when she turned to me and she said, I'm afraid it's not good news, there's no heartbeat. And I remember at that moment, I just completely broke down. And so did Jay. And we just held each other for a very long time. And it took us a while to be able to leave the room. They gave us the time that we needed to process the information. They took us back through, unfortunately, the antenatal clinic, which is where I was seeing all these pregnant women. One thing that I have picked up in this process is the NHS is in dire need of a change, and the government is failing us in so many different aspects. But from my experience and from what I have been through, they are unacceptably failing in infant loss, in miscarriages, and the way everything is handled. Because not only have I been not tortured, but not only have I been made to suffer my loss and then have to, in medical circumstances, be around pregnant women with healthy pregnancies while I'm waiting for information, results, scans. The record system itself is pretty much very poor, in the sense that most medical people that I have now seen since don't know my history. I have to repeat myself 10 to 20 times whenever I'm seeing someone new about something else that is to do with my situation. So needless to say, that is another rant in itself. But We were made to walk through the antenatal clinic, but then we were put into a small private room where I was offered tea, and so was Jay, and we pretty much called our family straight away to let them know the news because we were heartbroken. I remember I got an appointment that afternoon. It was an emergency appointment, and I had to go to the hospital to have this appointment. And because the baby was over 13 weeks, whereas normally they can generally just give you a tablet, they said that I would have to go into pretty much like an induced labour. And I know it's different for many women under different circumstances, but this was my experience. So I was told that I'd need to take a tablet, go home, wait 24 hours, and then come back a day later where they were going to give me some more tablets to then induce labour. And I remember the lady saying to me, under rare circumstances, that you might end up, that first tablet might pretty much get things going straight away. You obviously might experience hemorrhage or severe blood loss, in which case you have to call 999 or get yourself to A&E. And I think it took about... We had the appointment booked at 3 o'clock, and it took us 2 hours to be seen. We were waiting 2 hours, and then obviously we saw them. They gave me the tablet, and then we got sent home. Needless to say, that tablet did do the trick. I didn't need to go in for another tablet. I ended up, unfortunately, having my waters break a day later. Before I'd even gone into hospital, I was experiencing contractions, and unfortunately my water not only broke, I had a severe hemorrhage. I got rushed into A&E. I pretty much delivered straight away the baby, and I have never been so scared in all my life, to be quite honest, because I thought I was going to die. I didn't. I was thankfully in the right place at the right time. I did have to have blood transfusions, and I did lose a lot of blood. I unfortunately couldn't deliver the placenta, and so I had to be taken into surgery for this to have the placenta removed. And that, I think, was about... I think I got into A&E at about 7 o'clock, and then it took about until 9 o'clock for them to feel like comfortable leaving me after the baby delivered. I was still bleeding at this point. They had managed to eventually get lines in me, and then I got taken to a different unit to get prepared for surgery, which I think ended up happening at about 11 o'clock at night. And I ended up coming back at, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I was in surgery for about 3 hours, and Jay, bless him, had stayed awake the entire time, and he was waiting in the room for me, like the amazing guy he is. So it was quite a difficult experience, to say the least, but I'm very grateful for not only Jay, but my family and everyone else who was able to support me through it. So we found out on the 24th of August 2021 that the Lily Rose didn't have a heartbeat, and I'm so used to calling her the baby because for such a long time we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. We found out that she didn't have a heartbeat, and then it was the 24th they gave me the tablet, and then the 25th was when I actually delivered her, which was unplanned because I was meant to be delivering her on the 26th in hospital settings, but unfortunately it did turn into an emergency situation. Please don't get me wrong. It is extremely rare for this to happen. It is not something that should have happened. However, I have now come to believe, and I have now kind of understood why it potentially happened. But that is another video in itself. So that was my experience, and it took a year, August, September, October, November. It took a year and 4 months to be officially told the results of why she passed away. According to the coroner's report, she was completely healthy. There was no reason why she should have passed away. However, like I mentioned earlier, my placenta did not actually deliver, and in surgery, because it was so attached, because she was quite far along, it got taken away in bits, and they weren't really able to get anything from that, which is why they said that it shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have passed away. But I now have come to believe through the fact that I have been diagnosed with something. Results for the placenta would have kind of shown what possibly would have happened, although this is just my belief. But she was perfect in every way, and she should be here today, and she isn't. I think that's what makes it more difficult, is I sometimes just look at the date and I think, oh, I should have a 1-year-old, or oh, this is a year after the due date. It's difficult to explain how you feel, because for such a long time I couldn't be happy, I couldn't smile, I struggled to just comprehend everything. I dived into just TV shows and movies and YouTube to take my mind off of it. Having to come across people who are pregnant and going to baby showers. I was invited to a baby shower. I know quite a few ladies who are currently pregnant. I would say that it is sometimes extremely difficult, because of course you're going to be sad, and of course you're going to be frustrated, and of course you're going to be angry, and of course you're thinking, why was it me? Why can't I have a healthy baby right now? But for all of that, and what I've said to a lot of my friends who have been pregnant, who have fallen pregnant, my pain has got nothing to do with them, and I could never put my pain on them. So as much as I feel that thoroughly through my heart, and I struggle to sometimes even think the pain is so bad, I would never put that on them. It is not their fault my baby died, and they deserve to be happy. They deserve that happiness. They deserve that pregnancy, that healthy pregnancy with a healthy outcome. Just because my baby died doesn't mean theirs is going to. And just because I couldn't experience that doesn't mean they shouldn't be allowed, because that's just selfish. And interestingly, selfish thoughts and feelings do come along with grief. And so if you can accept that, and if you can genuinely differentiate that is just the grief talking, it is a lot easier to just let go and understand that it is what it is, you know. I know that I'm coming from a place where I already have a healthy son, and I know that for someone who might not have any children, this might feel completely different. But I'm, again, just talking about my experience. So we are allowed to feel emotions, we're allowed to feel pain, we're allowed to feel scared, we're allowed to feel sad, and we're allowed to feel angry. It is all part of the grief process. I feel like I'm making this video, and I have wanted to make this video because in my eyes, this is my way of Lily Rose being remembered. We had so many plans for her. We had so many memories that we wanted to make. Gareth was so excited to be a little brother, or an older brother really. He was going to have a sibling, and he couldn't wait. It was just not the right time, unfortunately. There is not a good enough reason for this type of stuff to happen. It doesn't matter what you believe in or who you are. You know, the pain that people go through in the world is devastating, and no one should go through that. No one should go through that. When I experienced our loss, like I said, it took me 12, 13, 14, 15, I think it was 14 to 16 months to find out the results. We were meant to find it out a lot sooner, but that was just the shambles of the NHS. That was me chasing them numerous amount of times, having to call a lot of people that I shouldn't have had to call. I didn't get a midwife, a grief counsellor, or a bereavement midwife, and I should have technically gotten one, because that was one of the things that that was one of the things that the hospital offered, but I just didn't end up getting one. There was a lot of failings there. However, there was a lot of people who were there to help me at the right time, and I cannot thank the NHS workers and the A&E. I cannot thank the nurses and the people who performed the surgery enough. They did their jobs the best that they could do, and I'm here today pretty much because of them, and I am very, very grateful for that. As much as I have a lot of issues with the way that the NHS is run in terms of the head offices and the people at the top who have got no idea what we go through as people in and out through those doors, and no idea what the nurses and the doctors go through. You know, I've said my 2 pence there, but I don't really want to ramble too much because I think I've rambled quite a bit already. But yeah, this is my video for Lily Rose, so people can hear her experience and know that she existed even for just those 17 to 20 weeks. I carried her for 20 weeks of my life. I thought that she was going to be in my life for a very long time, and she isn't. So this is my little tribute to her. And if my experience can help someone, somehow, somewhere, then that's the main thing, okay? So if you are going through this, you're not alone. That's all I want you to know. You're not alone, and we can get through it together. And you will survive. It hurts all the time. It gets easier as time does go by. But the memories and the feelings and the love will always still be there. And I think that's what makes it the most difficult, when you got all that love to give and you just don't have a baby to give it to. I'm sorry this is such a depressing video, and I apologize if I have come across in any way. I hope I have come across the way that I want to be seen, and I hope that this message reaches someone out there who might be looking for an information in terms of they are going through the same thing. This is my experience. Please just don't think that this is the end if it does happen to you, because it isn't. It feels that way for a very long time, but it isn't. And give yourself the time that you need to heal and cry and grieve. A lot of people are scared of grieving. A lot of people are, because of the way that we've been conditioned in this world. Grieving is completely natural. Grieving is necessary to survive. And if you don't grieve, if you don't process what you have been through and let yourself feel, it will literally consume you. So you got to just let it out, really and truly. You do. And one of the things I did for a very long time was talk to people. I made an Instagram account. I made some lovely friends. However, all of that is gone as I don't have any social media anymore. But I saw that I was not alone, and I saw that there was a lot of women out there who was going through exactly the same thing as me in terms of their grief and their pain through loss with miscarriage. So talking does help. Even when you think someone isn't really interested, talk to them anyway, because they might just be a little bit scared of what you've got to say. And if we don't just talk about grief and infant loss, then it's going to be, and it's going to stay a taboo subject that no one wants to bring up, you know, unless someone specifically says they're not interested in talking about it at all. 9 times out of 10 people are curious and they just want to know what happened. They want to know how to help. And sometimes you don't even know what you want. You don't even know how they can help, but just talking about it really does make a difference, because you might feel like you're talking about it and you're coming across like a complete idiot, or like they just don't care. And some people don't know how to handle that situation very well, but believe me, it is still valid, okay? It is still valid, and what you've got to say counts and deserves to be heard. But yeah. I did say yesterday today was going to be a little bit of a different video, but I am also going to be making a bit of a series to do with talking about loss in general, grief. I feel like this is something that needs to be said, and I feel so much better that I have made this video, because I've been wanting to make it for a while. Like I said, YouTube was my escape during the few months after I lost Lily Rose, so it to me matters that I've made this video, and that's all that counts. Thank you for listening to me, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.